Hello, I hope you can hear me. My name is Victor Octavian Ionescu. I am a teaching assistant and a doctoral student in the University of Bucharest, Romania. I teach at the Faculty of Foreign Languages and Literatures, and my doctoral thesis is on language attitudes towards Romanian English code switching. I'm going to be talking and presenting a few considerations on the effects of language contact in conversations between Romanian English bilinguals. The aim of this presentation and of the subsequent paper is to show how language contact phenomena shapes the bilingual mind, as well as the linguistic preferences and tendencies of the bilingual individual. This is shown through a rigorous analysis of pre-existing corpus of transcribed conversations between Romanian English bilingual speakers, which takes place in the months of September, October, and November 2021. Now, we must establish a theoretical background first and foremost on language contact, bilingualism, and code switching. Firstly, language contact can be generally defined as a linguistic process that takes place when the speakers of two or more languages interact with one another, with each language influencing and being influenced by the other. Language contact is represented by a situation in which the speakers of different languages are in close contact in their everyday lives. Therefore, bilingualism is the use of two or more languages in an interaction by either an individual or a community. Code switching can be viewed as the process of switching between two languages or dialects in the same conversation, usually dependent on social or other contextual factors. Code switching can also be described as the alteration of two languages within a single discourse, with code mixing being viewed as code switching that occurs in situations where determining the dominant language can prove to be difficult. We have identified three types of code switching, namely intrasentential code switching. So an example of this in Romanian English code switching would be cea mai rapidă barcă is the blue one. The fastest boat is the blue one. Intersentential code switching. I saw her do it, full stop, nu mă crezi. I saw her do it, do you not believe me? And tag switching. Au crezut că nu o să observe nimeni, didn't they? They thought no one would notice, didn't they? Now, on the element of data collection, the corpus on which this analysis is based contains over 5,000 words and a total of 130 instances of code mixing or code switching. It consists of over 4 hours of both mixed and same-sex interactions between 6 Romanian English bilinguals, so a total number of 6 informants of varying exposure to English as their L2, and of differing linguistic preferences. They've been divided into 4 different subcorpora, each corresponding to one of the 4 total recordings that took place. The data collection process was performed in accordance with all of the ethical norms that such research entails, while successfully minimizing Lebov's famous observer paradox due to the modern and discrete technology which was used to record my informants. Now, onto the element of data examination, we have a qualitative analysis and a quantitative analysis. We are going to begin with the qualitative analysis. Here, I've managed to display the table with the identification of code switching in accordance with the type of integration into the base language, much like we see in the studies of Shanna Poplack, who does something very similar with English and Spanish code switching. So there are different types according to the level of integration into the base language. So we have phonological, morphological, and syntactical types, where there can be code switching or where there cannot be code switching. So an example of an integration which is carried out phonologically, morphologically, and syntactically would be last minuturi o să te coste enorm. Last minutes will cost a lot. Here we see all 3 levels of integration into the base language. Then just for syntactic, we can say poți să-ți iei și un Audi vintage. You can also get a vintage Audi. Audi vintage here, it's syntactically integrated. In type 3, we see a phonological integration. Men's ideal Christmas gift, but said with a Romanian or generally Eastern European accent instead of with either a British or American accent or Australian or whatever. And finally, we have absolutely no level of integration, such as in the example, because she's a opta A și eu sa opta E, because she's in 8A and I'm in 8E. This is a conversation between two younger bilinguals about what classrooms they're in. She's in class 8A, and the speaker is in class 8E. Provide a bit of context. So from the qualitative analysis of the empirical data, we can observe the four types of code switching. So type 1, last minute roste cost enorm, last minute will cost a lot. Here it's phonologically, morphologically, and syntactically integrated from English into Romanian, as I've said. And type 2, the one with the vintage Audi vintage, it's only integrated from English into Romanian syntactically, because in Romanian, you have the noun and then the adjective, and in English we have the adjective and then the noun. Type 3, men's ideal Christmas gift, spoken with a heavy Romanian accent or generally Eastern European accent. It's done so purposefully in that conversation in an ironic fashion to mock the other speaker, because the other speaker's English probably isn't viewed as being all that good by the other speaker. And then type 4, because she's opta, she also opta E. This type of code switch involves phonological integration into Romanian. It adheres to the phonological rules of the Romanian language. Despite this fact, it is still morphologically, syntactically, and lexically English. An individual can, of course, exhibit more than a single type of code switching, as Poplak rightfully states. One type of code switching requires a high proportion of intrasentential switching, as shown in example 8, because it's like that moment când tu nu știi ce să alegi, because it's like that moment when you don't know what to choose. This is referred to as a more complex, intimate type of code switching. This is because the code switch segment, as well as the segments around it, have to adhere to the underlying syntactic rules that are found in the two languages that bridge the constituents. In this case, we have English and Romanian, and the two must be linked together grammatically. Another type of code switching, one that is less intimate, is characterized by the use of more tag switches as well as single noun switches, with these particular switches being ranked quite low on a scale of translatability. So I just need a scutire for those 2 days. I just need a medical exemption for those 2 days. We can see that the speaker prefers to utilize a more concise word for medical exemption, opting for the Romanian version of determined said, so scutire, because it's quicker and easier to pronounce rather than saying medical exemption. Scutire is faster, so it's more contextually relevant and optimally informative. What do we see here? We see that intrasentential code switching is the one favored by in-group membership, whilst emblematic code switching is favored by non-group membership, such as the examples given earlier. Now, onto the quantitative analysis. I have provided a table with percentages and numbers. This is code switching by syntactic category and language. So I've provided the type of code switch, the syntactic category of the code switch, the number of code switchings from English to Romanian, and then from Romanian to English, the percentage of total code switching and the total number of code switching. Of course, the percentages were approximated by rounding off the numbers to 2 decimal places. We see Determiners, single nouns, subject, noun, phrase, object, noun, phrase, auxiliaries, verbs, adjectives, independent clauses, subordinate clauses, relative clauses, prepositions, interjections, fillers, idiomatic expressions, and tags, and many others. This is the table in which the percentages are represented. And now I need to make some observation based on the on this table. The most frequently switched intrasentential constituent is the single noun, accounting for 17.46% of the total number of code switches. The most frequently switched extrasentential constituent is the sentence, which accounts for 15.34% of the total number of code switches. Code switching from English to Romanian has more nouns, auxiliaries, verbs, verb phrases, independent clauses, as well as relative clauses, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, fillers, interjections, quotations, and tags, as we can see here. Um, and then code switching from Romanian to English has more determiners, noun phrases, object noun phrases, predicate adjectives, and idiomatic expressions. There are significantly more switches from English to Romanian. In the case of nouns, verb phrases, adverbs, conjunctions, sentences, fillers, and quotations. And the data also shows that there are more instances of code switching, so 43 more instances that are done from English to Romanian than from Romanian to English. So I think now would be the time to draw a series of conclusions. From the qualitative and quantitative analyses of my data, the following factors having an impact on English-Romanian code switching have emerged. They affect bilingual language performance and account for different patterns of code switching. So, speakers who switched from English to Romanian were more comfortable either with one of the two languages or with both languages in the case of balanced bilinguals. Speakers who performed switches from Romanian to English felt less of a need to do so. Some conversations that may have had more untranslatable items in the other languages than others, they exist, they occurred. Um, the age of second language acquisition, so L2, as well as the exposure to both the native language, the L1, and the second language. This is also a factor. And of course, personal language preferences. These factors are relevant not only for the sociolinguistic analysis of the data, but also for insight into the development of the bilingual individual, because identity construction through language is something that is quite talked about in sociolinguistics, especially in sociolinguistics, which focus on bilinguals and code switching and language choice and such elements. This is the bibliography, and I would like you to thank you very much for listening. This is a recording of the presentation, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you very much again for listening to my presentation.